So if you're a marketer, let me ask, how confident are you that your content actually connects in every market? If you're guessing, it might be time to check out Phrase. Phrase is the industry-leading AI localization platform that helps you deliver content in multiple languages without losing your tone, your message, or your mind. It automates the manual work, slashes review time, and gives you real data on what's working where. Brands like Uber and Zendesk trust Phrase to scale their content across the globe and get it right every time. If you're serious about reaching more people and driving better results internationally, head over to phrase.com/MPN and take a look. That's phrase.com/MPN. Are you tired of juggling multiple software tools to manage your agency? Say hello to Deltek Workbook, the ultimate solution for marketing and communication agencies. With Workbook, you can streamline your projects, resources, and finances all in one place. Imagine real-time dashboards and reports giving you full visibility into your projects, people, and financials. Plan your team's capacity weeks in advance to avoid bottlenecks while staying on budget to maximize project margins. Plus, Workbook works perfectly for both agencies and in-house marketing teams looking to boost efficiency and profitability. And here's the best part. At PCI, we're a certified Deltek partner and reseller offering expert implementation, integrations, and ongoing support to ensure your success. Want to see how Deltek Workbook can transform your operations? For a free consultation, visit pci.us/podcast today. That's pci.us/podcast.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You,
we always ask customers and the employees, what is it that this company should never change? And many times, that's your differentiation. If we can get our army of people feeling significant, feeling like what they're doing has meaning, we're probably going to be even more successful.
Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
All right. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. It is time for another episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter. And today, we're talking about one of the most critical elements of business success, differentiation. My guest is Barry LaBov, a two-time Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, brand strategist and founder of LaBov Marketing, Communications, and Training. Barry's agency has worked with iconic brands like Harley-Davidson, Audi, and the Macallan Scotch to uncover their unique theories and rally their organizations. He's the author of The Power of Differentiation, Win Hearts, Minds, and Market Share, a top new marketing book on Amazon. And he co-hosts on the Difference Talks podcast. So, ladies, gentlemen, if you're ready to stand out in a crowded market, this episode is your blueprint. Welcome, Barry LaBov.
Heneka, thank you very much. I am very excited to be with you today.
Awesome sauce. So, as I mentioned, we mentioned your book earlier, and so we want to let the audience know today that we're talking about the power of differentiation, win hearts, minds, and market share. So, in a world of noise, differentiation isn't optional. It is survival. Barry's expertise lies in helping brands cut through the clutter by discovering and celebrating what makes them unique. Today, we'll explore how to identify your competitive edge, align your team around your brand story, and turn differentiation into a sustainable advantage. But before we get into the meat of the matter, into the nitty-gritty, I have an icebreaker question for Barry. So, here goes, Barry. What's the most surprising aha moment you've seen a client have about their brand differentiation?
The biggest aha I've seen is when the client realizes that something right in front of them is actually very, very powerful, very distinct, and yet they have walked by it, they have ignored it for years and years and years. And all of a sudden now, Heneka, they're looking at it with completely new eyes.
Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. I want to hear a little bit about your journey into marketing. How did you get there?
Well, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. But what happened was I was a musician, and one day I was at a recording studio, and I really started to think that, I'm not sure I should be here or not. That led me to not only be in my rock band, but also start to get involved with marketing. And so one of my clients asked me to take on all of their work. They were going to send me all their work and give me all their employees at their department. And Heneka, what I did was I kept saying no, but eventually after a year of that, I stepped down and I said, okay, I'll do it. From that point on, I became the owner of a full service ad agency, and we started doing all kinds of work. I started out, like I mentioned, in music, and then all of a sudden we're now doing print, and we're doing videos, and eventually we're doing, websites, and we're doing apps and all that. So it was an accident, but it was a positive one.
An interesting story. So you are a rock star, huh?
I was not a rock star, but I was a rock musician, and my songs sold well under 1 million copies. So I still get royalty checks, though. I do. I get royalty checks every 3 months. And sometimes they're for $3, sometimes maybe $14, but I'm getting checks. I am getting paid.
A check is a check is a check, right?
It
It's
is,
money.
yeah.
It compounds over time. All right. So what if there's any similarity there is between being a rock musician and marketing?
I think there's a lot of similarities because in a rock band, your job is to identify the strengths of each of the 3 or 4 other people that are in that band. So if you have a really great soloist, a solo guitarist, let's say, you want her or him to play a lot of those solos. Now, you don't want him to try to play drums because he's probably not a good drummer, but he might play great guitar. So you look for where the strengths are. And it's the same thing in marketing. You don't try to be all things. You don't try to play every instrument. What you try to do is, as a band leader, you go, look, let's say Heneka is a great drummer. Let her do a drum solo. Okay, so-and-so is...
Prophesy.
Yeah, and let's say so-and-so is a great guitarist. Well, let him play lead guitar, but don't ask Heneka to play lead guitar if she's never picked it up before. Let's not try to turn her into something she's not. So you look for the strengths and you play to the strengths.
All right. I think you've kind of started to answer the next question that I have for you, which is, what are some of the biggest mistakes that brands make when trying to differentiate themselves?
The biggest mistake is they confuse differentiation with superiority. So you may think, well, yeah, I'm a little different at this, but I'm not the best in the world. Don't think like that. So Harley Davidson, who is a client of ours, they're great. They are the first to tell you that what they're doing is not always perfect. So their motorcycle will not be the cheapest, will not be the fastest, any of that. But it is a beautiful motorcycle. They do have an amazing experience that they give to the owners of those motorcycles through their Harley Owners Group. They deliver those unique differentiators. So if you want to see a person get excited about a beautiful motorcycle and being welcomed into their brother or sisterhood, that's what you get with Harley Davidson. So we have to look at our brands, our companies the same way. We may not be superior in every facet, but there is something we're doing that is unique enough that we're in business and that we have customers who actually pay for us to do this. So we've got to find those things. And the other big thing I'll share, Heneka, is make sure you understand when you talk to your customers and your employees what you should not change. So we always ask customers and the employees, what is it that this company should never change? And many times, that's your differentiation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. So you mentioned Harley Davidson. I did too in the intro because he works with them. And what I know, the little that I know about that brand is that it has a cult-like following.
Mhm.
You've worked with the brand. Give us a little sneak peek into the inside.
Well, cult can be looked at as a bad word. I agree with you, cult-like, in that there are people who are engaged with that brand, who work there, as well as who are happy owners of the product, that dress in their clothing, that want to hang out with others just like them. They want to tell stories about their motorcycle and listen to other people's stories. That's I called it a brotherhood or sisterhood, but that's what it is. It's a very much a connective experience where they're bringing people together. Now, Heneka, what I want to share with the audience is not every brand has that, and you shouldn't try to create it if it's not there. But Harley has it. And when I started working with them, just a peek behind the scenes, I walked down the halls of their headquarters at Harley Davidson's main office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was the original building where they built their motorcycles. So it was originally a motorcycle factory. I walked down the halls. Everybody that worked there had a Harley tattoo or was wearing Harley uniforms or had a Harley helmet at their desk. As I walked up to the building, there were hundreds of motorcycles parked out front. They were the employees' vehicles. So it's a company that not only created and produced a product, but they lived it and they loved it.
Wow, they lived it and they loved it. I know that this next question I'm going to ask you, you gave a little bit of the response in my previous question, but just to go deeper, I want to ask you, how do you help companies, Barry, discover what truly sets them apart?
We have our own unique differentiation, and it's a process, Heneka. So it's a 5-step process. There are, I'd say, 3 of those steps that every agency out there does. And then there are 2 steps that are very rare. So we will talk with customers, we'll listen to them, we'll listen to the employees. So basically, we're going to listen and learn from human beings about this product, this brand, including what they should not change and what do you love the most about it. But then we go to a step nobody does, which is called technical immersion. And that is, we literally go inside the plant or the technology center, and we work with their technical people to learn how this product or service is put together, what are the processes, what's behind it, because we're looking for differentiation. We're looking for those 1 or 2, maybe 3 things that nobody else is doing exactly that way. In our 3rd step, we then meet with the client and say, here's what we learned with humans, and here's what we learned as we went through all the technical differentiation that we found. Let's come up with an agreement that you believe that these few things are actually differentiators. After we do that, we then produce materials, websites, like a lot of agencies do, to help promote those uniquenesses. The 5th step is when we launch it, and this is something that is very rare. We do not launch it to the world first. We launch it to the most important people, the people who build it, engineered it, service it, represent it, the employees. If they have a dealer network, the dealer network, we launch to them before we launch to everybody else, so that we create an army of believers. So that's what we do in a nutshell, 5 steps.
Wow, I like that. An army of believers. I love
That's
that,
right.
because if you don't have, charity begins at home, it is said, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. So another big brand that you've worked with is Audi. How can leaders rally their teams around a brand unique story? So I want to hear that, but could you intertwine in your response the Audi brand story?
Here's what's interesting. Sometimes you got to think small, all right, to get big. When we started working with Audi, they were encountering very tough times, and they were not the brand they are today. It was 20, 30 years ago. And Audi would be located at a car dealership along with many other cars at that time. They didn't have their own Audi dealership stores. So you could walk in and you might be able to buy a Jeep, an Oldsmobile, yes, Oldsmobile, a Buick, a Porsche, a Volkswagen, or an Audi. And what happened at that moment when we were brought in is we found out that the salespeople at those dealerships, Heneka, they did not believe in Audi as a brand. They just said, look, if somebody's begging to buy one, we'll sell it. But, you know, I'd rather sell a Buick, or I'd rather sell an Oldsmobile of all things, right? So what our client did, and he's a genius. He said, look, let's stop trying to get every salesperson excited. Let's just get one salesperson at a dealership to believe in Audi. So we set up 25 dealerships as a test, and we worked with one salesperson, generally the newest or maybe the least successful one, because that's the only one the dealership owner would give to us. And we got them to understand the brilliance of the Audi product, what made it tick, what made it unique. We gave them all this love and attention. And we said, look, if you think the Audi is the right car for the customer that comes in, proudly show it to them. Now, if you don't, you can sell anything you want. Well, what happened was within 2 months, we started to look at the sales numbers from those 25 people. They were outselling everybody else at their dealerships, and their dealerships were increasing Audi sales at 25% or more. The rest of Audi's dealerships in the whole United States were down over 10%. So we said, wait a minute, we found something. And so what I'm sharing with you is we learned that if one person out of 5 or 6 believe at that store, that dealership, you're going to sell more than if you have 25 of them who don't care. So that's what we did. So we then created the Audi Brand Specialist program, and anybody in your audience who has bought an Audi worldwide in the last 25 years met an Audi brand specialist as you bought that car and as you got it serviced.
Wow. Wow. Big lesson there. You just need to start with one. You know, as you said that, Barry, I thought of Seth Godin, who has been on the show more than once. And that is his philosophy too. You know, that's how you start to build your tribe. You start with one, then you get to 10, you know, but you don't start with 10 necessarily. You work your way up. And so that's how you start to build your tribe.
Heneka, can I interject? I know Seth Godin as well. Phenomenal person. He was on my podcast as well. And here's one thing that what we just talked about is really important. He has a book called The Song of Significance, and it's all about how our employees need to feel like we're significant, that we're doing something that has meaning. Well, what I just described with you when we worked with the Audi brand specialist at each store, and we treated them great, and we let them know what a great car it was, and let them know they're making a difference, it gave them significance. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it went from, I just sell cars, to, wait a minute, I have a title. I'm an Audi brand specialist. That's what I do. And that's what we have to realize in the audience. If we can get our army of people feeling significant, feeling like what they're doing has meaning, we're probably going to be even more successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and as you said that, Barry, there's so many things come to mind. One of them is my social enterprise has team members from all over the world. We just started to get a lot of traction late last year into early this year. And when I asked the project lead, you know, I was sharing, you know, I'm grateful to see how you guys have come on board and taken the project on as your own. And the response was, we believe in the mission. Right? Mm-hmm. They believed in the mission and they felt that they're playing a major role. And so it's absolutely key what you're saying. In order to make a difference, you have to feel like you are indeed making a difference.
Right. Otherwise, what's the purpose? And we have to understand that our employees, if they feel what they're doing really are doing nothing that means anything, then why should they care about doing a high quality job? Why should they care about making sure that other people do a high quality job? Why should they care about staying at the company? So all those things are so important to human beings. And by the way, that's who we're working with every day, human beings. And we've got to take great care of them.
Absolutely. That's who we're working with. Human beings, not human doings.
Right.
What role does storytelling play in winning market share? I mean,
Story.
we've alluded to it before, but I just want to hear
Yeah.
you read it right.
Well, I've got a kind of a controversial opinion on storytelling. So one thing with storytelling is a lot of companies say, oh, you need to have a story. Storytelling's great. Okay, well, in general, yes, but let's get a little more granular. If your story is, hey, we have this big factory and we have 300 people and we've been in business for 40 years and we sell ambulances. That's a boring story. So you know what? You told a story and people are going to fall asleep. If your story is, 30 years ago, 3 technical people got together to create the ultimate ambulance that would be the safest for people, so that they, as technicians, as they were driving the vehicle or actually taking care of patients, were confident that this would be the safest way to get that patient to the hospital and get them the help they needed. That's a different kind of story. And it's the same company, but we shouldn't look at our stories as something where it's a laundry list of things. The story's got to get down to what are we doing and why are we doing it? And is there anything that's unique? So the story I just shared, hey, it started out with 3 medical techs. Okay, well, that's an interesting story because a factory could have started out with a couple of manufacturing people, and who cares, right? But these were medical technicians that began that business. So that's a differentiation. Everything they do is based on medical technician expertise.
All right, so you're reading my mind because I wanted to ask you next, how do we craft that story? And perhaps you can still, you've alluded to it, but just honing on it a little more. How do we craft that story so that it stands out?
Make sure your story isn't so generic that your competition could put their name at the top of it and say, this is our story. So number one, you got to look at it that way. So if you say, hey, we're blah, 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 and your competition says it, it's of no value. So it must be distinctly yours. It must be something that somebody stops as they're looking at all the things around them and goes, well, oh, that's interesting. So you have to force yourself to be interesting. And the best way to do that is to focus on what makes you a little different and why. And keep it short. And keep it short, by the way. Don't make it a 20-minute elevator speech, because that elevator is never going to get down and people are going to get very tired.
Unless that elevator is stuck, right?
Yeah.
Keep it short and keep it sweet, That's what you want to do. All right, it's time now, Barry. I'm going to get into my community connections segment. And this is my segment where my listeners get a chance to engage, or I tell them about opportunities that they can engage in person with me in. So, of course, you've been hearing me share about our leadership cruise, right? You've been hearing me share about that over the last couple of weeks, and I keep sharing it because I really want to see you on board the Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas in November 3 to 7. We're leaving from Fort Lauderdale and we're heading into 2 ports in the Bahamas, to Nassau and to Coco Key. So I'd love to see you on. Just reach out to me, 876-849-2571 via WhatsApp if you'd like to be on it, or send me an email at Heneka@HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. And of course, we have coming up as well, LeaderCast. Yes, LeaderCast. And you all know, well, many of you know that LeaderCast is the largest one-day leadership event globally. Started by John Maxwell, was sold, and I've actually hosted 4 of those conferences in Jamaica pre-COVID, and now I am picking up back the reins. We're doing LeaderCast in October. So again, reach out for details, 876-849-2571 via WhatsApp, or email heneka@henekawatkis-porter.com. Of course, very in short order, you will be able to get the web information where you can just go on and get your tickets. But of course, I am sharing that with you now. All right, and that's our community connection segment. Continuing my conversation with Barry LaBov, and Barry has been giving so much marketing insights, how you differentiate, how you win hearts, how you win minds, to get that market share. So, Barry, at this time, I'm going to ask you to share with our community your final thoughts, and also how might our community of peak performers get in touch with you.
My final thoughts are, whether you're a solopreneur or you run a large company or anything in between, you are doing something of value. So number one, make sure you know what that is so you don't change it, because if you get rid of that, you just made yourself less successful. So hold on to what you're doing really well. Number two, honor that. Give it a name. You know, we who have children don't have child 1, 2, and 3. We have children with names. And we have the story behind why we named them that. And we tell people all about that child, right? Okay, same thing about your differentiation. Honor it. And final thing, celebrate it. Again, with the most important people first, your team, and then, yes, the rest of the world. But start with your team, maybe go to your customers next, and then, yeah, tell everybody else. But build an army of believers. Now, you ask how you can get a hold of me. I'm happy to help anybody. I have people reaching out all over the world. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Barry LaBov. You can go to my personal website, and you can actually hear some of my band's music at barrylabov.com, or visit my company's website, labov.com. So however you want to reach out, great. I'm happy to help people. I give people input. I give people advice. If you're interested in my book, please go to Amazon. It's called The Power of Differentiation. And I ask, if you do purchase it and read it, please leave an honest review, because it's important that people get to share what they think of the book, and people get to read what others thought of the book.
All right. The Power of Differentiation: Win Hearts, Mind, and Market Share, available on Amazon. And that's also the title of our podcast episode today. Thank you so much, Barry LaBov, for joining us on the Entrepreneurial You. Such a delight.
Thank you, Heneka. You're fantastic.
Amazing. Thanks. And let's get into trending now. So here's a jaw-dropping stat. Brands that clearly communicate their differentiation see a 67% higher customer loyalty rate. Meanwhile, 89% of marketers say storytelling is their most underutilized tool for growth. Of course, Barry's strategies are a game changer in today's hyper-competitive markets. All right. And of course, I just want to say thank you to you, our listeners, for tuning in. And if you want to dive deeper into Barry's work, of course, please do grab a copy of The Power of Differentiation, or tuning to the Different Talks podcast. If this episode resonated with you, you know the drill. Subscribe, leave a rate, review in Apple or Spotify, and share this episode with someone who needs to stand out in their industry. Remember, differentiation isn't just being better. Really, it is about being unforgettable. Affirm with me today. I'm confidently sharing my unique value with the world. Again, I am confidently sharing my unique value with the world. Thanks so much to our sponsors, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and of course, Watkis-Porter.com. Do take care.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Robbie Samuels hosts the On the Schmooze podcast. Robbie, tell listeners what to expect from the show.
Since 2015, I've interviewed entrepreneurs who overcame challenges to achieve success in their field or industry. Tune in to On the Schmooze to listen as I ask deep questions to elicit untold stories about leadership and networking.
And where can people subscribe?
Find the show at ontheschmooze.com or on marketingpodcast.net, or just search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard them. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.